There's something strange that happens in your backyard before every rainstorm. Not when the first drops begin to fall, not when the sky turns dark, but several minutes before that, when everything still looks perfectly normal. A robin is hopping across the lawn. A sparrow is picking up the last few seeds beneath the feeder. A blue jay is calling from the top of a maple tree. You look outside, and nothing seems unusual. But to the birds, the storm has already begun. They know something you don't. And then within just a few minutes, the entire yard seems empty. The birds disappear. No alarm calls, no frantic wing beats, no signs of panic. They simply leave, as if someone has sent them a secret message. How do they know what causes dozens of birds to make the same decision at nearly the same moment? And more importantly, where do they go? Tonight we're going to find out. Because hidden behind every rainstorm is a secret world that most homeowners never see. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your backyard the same way again. The first bird to leave is often the American robin. That may sound surprising. After all, robins are among the most confident birds in the yard. They spend much of their day feeding out in the open, completely exposed. Yet before a storm arrives, robins are often among the first birds to disappear. Scientists believe birds can detect incredibly small changes in air pressure, changes so subtle that humans never notice them. To a bird, the air is changing. The sounds of the landscape are changing. Even the scent of the yard may be changing. It's as if nature is sending an invisible signal, and robins know how to read it. While you still think the weather looks fine, the robin has already started searching for shelter. But what happens next may be even more fascinating. Think back to the last time a major storm approached. You may remember something unusual. The backyard became quieter, not completely silent, just different. The songs became less frequent. The calls became less frequent. The familiar sounds slowly faded away. That isn't an accident. Many bird species reduce their communication before bad weather arrives. They stop wasting energy. They stop attracting attention. And they focus on finding safety. If you've ever felt that a backyard seemed strangely different before a storm, it may not have been the weather you were noticing. It may have been the birds. Next comes the blue jay. When humans look at a tree, we see a trunk and a collection of branches. But when a bird looks at a tree, it sees a multi-story building. Each level has a different temperature, a different wind speed, a different level of protection. Blue jays understand this perfectly. As a storm approaches, they don't necessarily fly away. They simply move deeper inside the tree, closer to the trunk, closer to the thickest layers of leaves, where thousands of overlapping leaves create a natural roof. What makes this even more remarkable is that many blue jays return to the exact same location again and again. Not just the same tree, the same branch, the same sheltered corner, as if they have a personal address hidden inside the forest. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, have you ever noticed birds disappearing before it starts to rain? Type yes or no. And if you enjoy discovering hidden bird secrets like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. But perhaps the bird that amazes me most is the chickadee. Tiny, light enough to be pushed around by a strong gust of wind. Yet one of the toughest survivors in the entire backyard. When bad weather approaches, chickadees disappear into small cavities, old woodpecker holes, cracks in tree bark, tiny hidden spaces that most people walk past every day without ever noticing. These cavities are often incredibly small, so small that the bird nearly touches the walls. And that's exactly the point. The smaller the space, the less heat escapes. Within minutes, the bird's own body heat begins warming the air inside, transforming the cavity into a tiny survival chamber, a perfect refuge against cold rain and powerful winds. Meanwhile, house sparrows use a completely different strategy. They rely on us, under roof edges, inside sheds, behind shutters, under carports, in places most homeowners rarely pay attention to. Many sparrows spend their entire lives around human structures. Your house, your garage, your porch. To them, these aren't just buildings. They're part of the ecosystem, part of a survival strategy, part of what keeps them alive during the harshest weather. You may never have realized it, but your home has probably sheltered dozens of birds over the years. Then the rain finally arrives, water tapping against the roof, leaves trembling in the wind, rain falling through the trees. And suddenly the yard feels empty, too empty. But that's only how it appears to us. Because the truth is, the yard was never empty at all. The birds are still there. They've simply moved into another layer of the landscape, a hidden layer, one that exists right beside us, yet remains largely invisible, behind dense shrubs, inside hollow trees, beneath tangled roots, under piles of fallen branches. Life continues. It's simply happening beyond our view. And then something extraordinary happens. Something many people find difficult to believe. When the weather becomes severe enough, when temperatures drop far enough, birds that normally compete with one another begin to change. The chickadees that chase each other away from the feeder, the wrens that fiercely defend their territories, the bluebirds that refuse to share nesting spaces, suddenly gather together, inside the same cavity, inside the same nest box, inside the same shelter. They press against one another, sharing body heat, sharing survival. For a few hours, competition disappears. Nature becomes very simple. Stay alone and risk freezing. Stay together and survive. It's one of the most remarkable and moving agreements in the natural world. But perhaps the greatest surprise of all involves memory. Imagine your backyard. Thousands of branches, hundreds of hiding places, countless potential shelters. And yet many birds remember the exact spot where they sheltered during previous storms. Not just last season, not just last year. Sometimes for many years. The same cavity, the same bush, the same protected corner. Again and again. That means the chickadee sheltering in your yard today may have used that very same spot dozens of times throughout its life. It knows your yard in ways you probably never will. It knows which branch blocks the wind, which cavity stays warmest, which shelter remains driest. A secret map exists alongside the human world, and the birds have been following it for years. Then there is the hummingbird, perhaps the most astonishing creature in this entire story. A body weighing only a few grams. A bird so small that a raindrop can seem enormous. By all logic, it shouldn't be able to fly in heavy rain, but it does. Researchers have filmed hummingbirds adjusting their body angle in midair, increasing wing beat speed, constantly shedding water from their feathers, all in fractions of a second. While most of the backyard is taking shelter, the hummingbird keeps working, keeps feeding, keeps surviving, keeps adapting, a tiny miracle unfolding right outside your window. And eventually, the rain ends. The clouds begin to break apart. The sunlight returns. A robin appears on the lawn. A sparrow emerges from beneath the roof. A chickadee calls from somewhere in the trees. A blue jay starts shouting once again. Within minutes, the backyard comes back to life, as if nothing ever happened. But now you know the truth. They didn't disappear. They never left. They were simply using a hidden map. A map built from memory, experience, and millions of years of evolution. And perhaps the most beautiful realization is this. All this time, you thought you were watching the birds. But the birds have been learning your backyard too. Day after day. Year after year. Sometimes understanding it better than you ever could. If this video changed the way you see rainy days, share it with someone who loves watching birds from their window. And tell me in the comments, which bird disappears first in your backyard when a storm is coming? I read every comment, because nature is always telling a story. Sometimes, we simply need to learn how to listen.